The rich don't borrow money, they rent it, and then they charge someone else rent on the exact same dollar. You've been taught that their advantage is access, a better rate, a private banker, some door down some hallway that you don't get to walk through. That story is comfortable, it's popular, and it's wrong in a way that is costing you a specific amount of money. Here's the first crack in it. This week, a regular person with good credit can get a 30-year fixed mortgage at 6.49%. The loan an investor uses to buy a rental property, the one this whole video is about, runs closer to 7.5%. Read that again. The move you're told is reserved for the wealthy comes with a worse rate than the one sitting in your inbox right now. They're not sneaking through a cheaper door. They're paying more on purpose, and they're doing it because the rate was never the thing. There is a single number your bank calculates on every loan it writes, and it decides whether the debt feeds you or eats you. It's called DSCR. On your mortgage, yours is 0. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what that costs you, in dollars, and exactly what it takes to move it above 1. That's a big claim, and I'd be suspicious of it too. So I'm going to build it from a single loan, one line at a time, and you can shoot it down at any point. 2 men, same age, same salary, same money in the bank, same week, same bank. One of them will spend the next 30 years paying a mortgage out of his paycheck. The other will spend the next 30 years being paid by his. Neither of them earns more than the other. The gap between them at the end is $933,496. Every debt in the world has a payer, not a borrower, a payer. The person whose money actually shows up when the bill comes due. And banks know this so well that they built 2 completely different rulers to measure it, and which ruler they pull out depends entirely on who that payer is. When you apply for a mortgage on a house you're going to live in, the bank measures you with DTI, debt to income. It adds up every monthly payment you owe and divides it by what you earn. It is a question about you, your job, your paycheck, your capacity to keep showing up. When an investor applies for a loan on a building, the bank measures the building. That ruler is DSCR, debt service coverage ratio. Take the dollars the property generates on its own, divide by the dollars the loan demands. That's it. If it lands at 1.00, the property covers its own note exactly. At 1.25, it covers the note and hands over the difference. Lenders call 1.00 the minimum and 1.25 the zone where the best rates and the highest leverage live. Same bank, same instrument, same week. 2 questions that have almost nothing to do with each other. One asks, can this man survive the payment? The other asks, can this building survive the payment? And the man never learns there was a second question. Meet Wes and Cole. I've made them as identical as 2 people can be. Same age. Both earn $85,000 a year. Both carry $550 a month between a car payment and a student loan. Same balances, same rates, down to the dollar. Both have $80,640 sitting in a savings account, which is not a coincidence and not generous. It's just what 20% of a median American house costs right now. They walk into the same bank in the same week of July 2026. Same loan officer, same market, same everything. Wes buys the median American house, $403,200. That number isn't a hypothetical. It's the Census Bureau's median sale price for the first quarter of this year, the actual middle of the actual market. He puts his $80,640 down, signs a 30-year fixed, and moves in. This is the responsible move. This is the move nearly everyone in his life told him to make, and I want to be clear that nobody lied to him. Cole takes his identical $80,640 and buys a property for $322,560 that he will never live in, never see the inside of again after closing, and never think about on a Sunday. That's the whole difference. Not income, not discipline, not timing, not credit, not some seminar. Neither man is smarter. Neither man saved harder. They deployed the same capital in the same week at the same institution. The only variable I've changed between them is who writes the check on the first of the month. Watch what one variable does. Let's build both loans line by line, because this is where the thing hides. Wes first. His house costs $403,200. His down payment is $80,640. So the bank lends him $322,560 at 6.49% on a 30-year fixed. Principal and interest, $2,037 a month. Property tax on a house that size, at the effective rate the average American homeowner actually pays, runs $356 a month. Homeowner's insurance, at the national average, is another $208. Added up, Wes owes $2,600 a month, every month, for 360 months. Now Cole. His property costs $322,560, and because the bank wants 25% down on this kind of loan instead of 20, his identical $80,640 buys a smaller building. The loan is $241,920. And here's the number I want you to sit with. His rate is 7.5%, not 6.49%. He is paying a full percentage point more than Wes for the privilege. Principal and interest, $1,692. Tax, $285. Landlord insurance, which costs more than a homeowner's policy, not less, $249. Cole owes $2,225 a month. 2 men, 2 notes, 1 bank. Cole's is smaller and more expensive. On every metric you were taught to check, he took the worst deal. Now the bank pulls out its rulers. For Wes, it runs DTI. His $2,600 mortgage plus his $550 car and student loan against his monthly income. That comes to 44.5%. He passes. He gets the keys. Everyone shakes hands. Then it runs the other ruler on Wes's house. The one nobody ever runs, because why would you? How many dollars does 403 Maple Street generate on its own for every dollar it demands? It demands $2,600 a month. It generates nothing. Not a little. Nothing. A house you live in has never produced a dollar of revenue in its life, and it never will. Wes's DSCR is 0.00. Cole's building has a tenant in it paying $2,782 a month. His note demands $2,225. Divide one by the other, and you get 1.25. The exact number lenders call the zone where the best terms live. The building covers its own debt with 25% left over. And notice what the bank did not ask Cole. It didn't ask for a W-2. It didn't ask for a tax return. It didn't ask what he does for a living. On this loan, the property qualifies, not the borrower. That's not a loophole. That's the product, sold openly to anyone who asks. Etapa 5, Beat 5, O Mecanismo. Cota, 400. Entregue, 402. So what does that actually do? 3 things, and they compound on each other. First, look at Wes's opening year. Over 12 months, he sends the bank $24,440. Of that, $20,934 is interest. Not principal, not equity. Interest. 86% of his first year of homeownership was rent paid to a lender, and every dollar of it came out of the same place, the hours he sold at work. He didn't buy a house that year. He bought about $3,500 of a house and rented the rest. Cole's first year on his note, he paid nothing. $0. Not a reduced amount, not a subsidized amount. The tenant wrote every single check 12 times, and the loan got 12 months smaller. Same instrument, same year. One man funded it with his life, and the other funded it with someone else's rent. Second, the toll. Anything above 1.00 doesn't disappear. It lands somewhere. In Cole's case, it lands in his account, at $556 a month. Now, $556 is not wealth. Nobody retires on it. But look at what it is, because I don't think people register how strange it is. It's a debt that pays him. Wes has an obligation that takes $2,600 out of him every month for 30 years. Cole has an obligation that hands him $556. Same word on both documents. Opposite direction of travel. Third, and this is the one that actually matters, the ruler never bit Cole. Wes's mortgage is stapled to Wes. It sits on his credit report, it sits in his DTI, it follows him into every financial conversation he'll have for 3 decades. Cole's loan is stapled to the building. It's the building's problem. His own debt-to-income ratio after buying $350,000 of real estate is 7.8%, the car and the student loan. Exactly what it was the day before he signed. He bought a property and his personal balance sheet did not move. And here's the part I keep coming back to. Wes will spend 30 years believing that the man who bought a rental got a better deal on something. He didn't. He got a smaller loan at a worse rate on a cheaper building. Wes was never in a worse deal. He was just the one being rented to. The $556 is not the point. I want to be blunt about that, because if you walk away thinking this was a story about cash flow, you've got the small version. Watch what happens when Wes tries to do it again. He's got a good job and a clean record, so a year later he goes back to the same bank for a second house, identical to the first. The loan officer runs the ruler. 2 mortgages at $2,600 plus his $550 in other payments, against $85,000 of income. That's 81.2%. Now, you may have heard that 43% is the line. It's the number Congress wrote into Dodd-Frank back in 2010, the qualified mortgage threshold. Here's the thing worth knowing. It isn't the real wall. The St. Louis Fed ran 30 million actual mortgage applications from 2018 through 2024 and went looking for where lenders genuinely stopped saying yes. It isn't 43. At 43, the denial rate barely twitches. A borrower at 45% gets treated roughly the same as a borrower at 35%. The wall is at 50%, and crossing it makes denial rates jump 15 to 17 percentage points. Wes is at 81.2%. There is no conversation. There is no shopping around. His salary is the ceiling, and he hit it with one house. Cole is at 7.8%. He can do it again, and again, and again. Because the ruler that governs him doesn't care how many buildings he owns, only whether each one pays for itself. So every list you've ever seen of 6 ways the rich use debt, it's one way. Done 6 times. Run the 30 years. Wes sends $733,204 out of his paycheck to service his loan. Cole sends nothing and collects $200,292. The gap between 2 men who earned the same salary, deployed the same capital, in the same week, at the same bank, $933,496. And not $1 of it came from a market return. Then there's the ratio nobody calculates. Per dollar of property he ends up owning, Wes put in $2.02 of his own money. Cole put in 25 cents. If I stopped here, this would be a commercial. So let me take the whole thing apart. Start with the biggest problem. The median American house fails. Not narrowly. Take Wes's $403,200 house, the actual middle of the actual market, and put it on a DSCR loan at 7.5%, with 25% down. The note, with tax and landlord insurance, is $2,720 a month. Now go find a tenant. The Census Bureau's median asking rent in this country is $1,534. Divide one by the other. The DSCR of the median American house is 0.56. It doesn't miss 1.00 by a hair. It misses by nearly half. An owner in that position writes a check for $1,186 every month out of his own pocket just to keep the thing breathing, which is Wes's situation with extra steps and a stranger in the guest room. So Cole didn't find a trick. He found an asset, and most of the map does not qualify. That is the entire cost that 6 Ways videos leave out. And it's not a footnote, it's the whole job. Second, look at what his building had to do. To hit 1.25 at these rates, Cole needed $33,382 a year of rent on a $322,560 property. That's a 10.35% gross yield. In monthly terms, rent equal to 0.86% of the purchase price. Those properties exist. They are not where most people live, they are not on the first page of Zillow, and finding one is work, the kind that takes months and produces nothing you can post. Third, 1.25 is a gross number. Vacancy isn't in it. Repairs aren't in it. Property management isn't in it. The 2 a.m. phone call about the water heater isn't in it. 1 vacant month eats 2 months of toll. Cole's real cushion is thinner than the ratio makes it look, and the ratio is what the bank underwrites on, not what he lives on. Fourth, and I want to be fair to Wes here, because I think he gets treated badly in stories like this one. Wes bought a place to live. That's not a failed investment. It's a purchase. It's shelter. It's stability. It's his kid's school district. And none of that shows up in a DSCR calculation, because none of it is supposed to. Buying a home is not the mistake. There's exactly one mistake available here, and it's calling it an investment and then spending 30 years quietly wondering why it never paid you anything. Fifth, the risk runs the other way too. Cole's whole structure rests on a person he's never met continuing to like his job. If that tenant leaves, the ruler flips against him. He's now got a worse rate, a vacant building, and a note that doesn't care. Taking on somebody else's debt service means taking on somebody else's fragility. Nobody sells you that part. So here's what you can actually do with this, and it takes about 30 seconds. Pull up every debt you have, not the balances, you already know those. I want you to run the bank's second ruler on each one, the one it never runs for you, your mortgage. How many dollars does that house generate on its own, every month, for every dollar it demands? Unless you're renting out a room, the answer is 0. DSCR, 0.00. Your car loan. Unless that car is driving strangers around for money, it generates nothing and costs you insurance on top. 0.00. Your credit card, 0.00. Your student loan, and this one stings, because it's the closest thing on the list to a real asset. It might genuinely have raised your income, but the loan itself doesn't collect from the degree, it collects from you. 0.00. Now the second number. Add up every monthly payment on that list, divide by your monthly gross, and look at it. If it's anywhere near Wes's 44.5%, understand what that means. You are already most of the way to a ceiling that nobody has mentioned to you, and the wall, the real one, the one the St. Louis Fed found in 30 million applications, is at 50%. Your salary is the collateral, and there's only so much of it. So here's your number. Take every debt you carry and ask one thing. How many dollars does this thing generate on its own? For every dollar it demands. Your mortgage, 0. Your car loan, 0. Your card, 0. Every one of them is paid by the same exhausted source, you. The rich didn't get a cheaper rate, they got a different payer. And moving a single debt from a DSCR of 0 to a DSCR of 1.25 doesn't make you rich overnight. It does something quieter and much larger. It takes one of your debts off your back and puts it on someone else's, forever. If you want to run both rulers on your actual numbers, your rate, your rent, your income, your ceiling, that calculator is in the Wealth Logician's vault, with the rest of the tools I build for these breakdowns. Links in the description. Wes never ran it. His bank did, twice, and only told him one of the answers. There's one assumption Wes and Cole never questioned, and they made it together. They argued about who pays the note. Neither of them asked whether there had to be a note. Because there's a version of this math where the building gets bought with no bank in it at all, where the seller holds the paper, sets the rate himself, and the toll goes to a completely different person for reasons that have nothing to do with a credit score. It's older than the mortgage industry, it's perfectly legal, and it's sitting in about 1 in 10 closings that nobody reports on. The rules change entirely when the lender is a person. That's the next one.